It's a very dangerous curriculum making its way into schools all across this country. It's very scary. But a group of Republican lawmakers are introducing new legislation that would prohibit the use of federal funds for the purpose of teaching critical race theory in schools and in our military as well. And joining us now is the lawmaker who is spearheading these bills, North Carolina Congressman Dan Bishop. And, sir, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Rob. Glad to be with you.
Of course. So your bill bans federal funding for those who are teaching that any race is inherently superior or inferior to any other race, that the United States is a fundamentally racist country, and that the Declaration of Independence or the United States Constitution are fundamentally racist documents. It sounds good to me. Give us a sense of how big this problem is. I'm sure you've been looking a lot at this.
I have indeed. We have. So more than 30 members in each case. I'm introducing that two bills. There's also a companion bill to Senator Cotton's bill to refuse or forbid critical race theory to be used in our military. Right. But those two bills we've got good support to begin them. But, you know, and as you said, you've been covering it. This is a very serious poison in the American psyche. It is, and this is something that I don't think a lot of Americans really recognize, perhaps. It is a form, it's something called cultural Marxism, or neo-Marxism. Yep. The idea, and it grows out of the original Marxism people have heard about, or communism, where the purpose is to sort of create a dissension, constant criticism of the foundations of the society to the point that the elites eventually lose tolerance for it, and then hopefully there's an overthrow. That's what this is about. And what was a refinement on that, it's not new. It was done in World War II era, but someone recognized, a guy named Antonio Gramsci recognized that a way to do it in a place like America is not have it done from outside, not have it done in terms of the workers versus the elites, but do it on a racial basis. Try to incite dissatisfaction, separate people into groups, get them to hate each other. That's what this is about. It is as un-American and as dangerous to the American society as anything I can possibly think of.
Can you get some Democrats? I mean, you guys obviously are the minority right now. Can you get Democrats to come along with you on this thing? I mean, there are a lot of moderate Democrats. Can you sell this to them? Does this thing have a chance?
Everyone condemns and recognizes there's been discrimination in the history of the United States, and that there was a long series of actions to try to eliminate that. But this idea, it is something that everybody should embrace. Everybody should recognize the danger, but I have to be candid about it, Rob. We don't have right now in our political moment people from the Democratic side stepping forward, and we see a lot of presence of this in the agencies of the federal government, in schools, as you made reference, in higher education. This is very prevalent. It is very dangerous. It's
embarrassing. And it's embarrassing that Democrats are going along with it because they think it's going to lead them to more power. They're teaching people that this country is awful because they think it's going to get them more power. How sick is that? And just for anyone out there that hasn't seen all of these stories, here's one of the best ones that we've talked about on this show. An exchange between a teacher and a student. This is Loudoun County, Virginia, back in March.
Just tell me what this seems to be a picture of.
It's just two people chilling.
I don't believe that you believe that.
Well, I'm confused. Are you trying to get me to say that there are two different races in this picture?
Yes,
is that what you want me to say? Well, at the end of the day, wouldn't that just be feeding into the problem of looking at race instead of just acknowledging them as two normal people?
I mean, you have this moron teacher trying to push this agenda. It's just so stupid. How big? I mean, how has this happened? I mean, because when I go back, I look at the way I was raised, my education, 80s and 90s mostly. I mean, this didn't happen. We didn't have politics, and we didn't have people with agendas teaching our kids all this nonsense. It just didn't exist. What changed?
Well, Rob, I think what we ought to recognize is this is it's not a new phenomenon. It is that there has been a slow erosion or slow infiltration, if you will, of a lot of our institutions with people who hold this rancid ideology, and they are making headway. They are. And I really think that the American people haven't been completely aware of what exactly is being discussed. They're sympathetic to the issues of racial discrimination for a very good reason, and they confuse or conflate a lot of things, and they don't realize that this is a form of a very dangerous ideology that seeks to the destruction of the country that they love. Once they understand that, I am convinced that the American people will respond and reject this utterly. And that's the role of those of us in Congress, including Republicans and Democrats, is to call this what it is, begin educating the American people on the foundations of these ideas and how disgusting they are in light of our principles set forth in our Constitution.
Yeah, you got to make people understand what this really is, and that's the problem right now. Everybody's so scared of race. Nobody wants to say this is a bad thing because it pretends to be something that it's not, and it is a cancer, just like Black Lives Matter, frankly, is. It is a terrible thing for this country, posing as something else, posing as something that has to do with Black lives or racism. Congressman Dan Bishop, sir, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Rob.
All right.